Hi everybody, this is Dino Chris from Prehistoric Facts, and this is an Answering Questions episode. I will answer the one question that I got, and I'll actually talk about a topic that I'll actually be willing to talk about, considering there is a movie coming out next week, and basically that's going to be a main topic that I'll talk about. Anyway, let's actually get to the question first. Alright, this is from Diego from Brazil, and he actually has asked, was there dinosaurs in the islands of Hawaii, or just in the Jurassic Park movie? Could there be some possibilities of flying species of dinosaurs that lived in the Pacific Islands? Well, Diego, basically that dinosaur fossils are not really found in Hawaii. The Hawaiian Islands are actually volcanic rocks. There's not that much of sedimentary rocks in Hawaii, and pretty much the Jurassic Park movies have been filmed in Hawaii for so many years, and I think it's basically that it's just a good hot spot to think like dinosaurs probably lived in a tropical environment and probably and all that, but basically not all dinosaurs lived in tropical places. And could there have been some flying species of dinosaurs that lived in the Pacific Islands? Well, Hawaii didn't really actually come to be until the Cenozoic era, which is during the time of mammals. I can't remember the millions of years of when it began, but basically it's volcanic eruptions that have actually, it's basically plumes of magma that have actually erupted from the crust, and then basically formed basically this, like, these small land masses, and basically kind of that's how the Hawaiian Islands are created, and basically that's how it actually was. And if Hawaii was around during the time of dinosaurs, I would suspect maybe some flying reptiles, the pterosaurs, that would have actually been able to have a good spot for them. And I don't think like the birds, basically the birds that came from like the raptorial species and all that kind of stuff. That would have actually might not have been a possibility, because birds at that time, during the time of the dinosaurs, most of them were gliders. So basically, they didn't really have powered flight totally yet. But I mean, Archaeopteryx could have actually had powered flight. But it wasn't until the very end of the Cretaceous is when we actually start to see birds that actually have powered flight. So basically, that's how it actually came to be. So, sorry, Diego, there's no dinosaurs in Hawaii, and no dinosaur fossils in Hawaii, and the Hawaiian Islands really just kind of came to be in the Cenozoic era. So I would say it actually began like in the middle of the Cenozoic, like either in the late Eocene or the Oligocene, somewhere around there. I could be wrong, but I'll have to look into that. All right, now, since that question is done, I'm actually going to talk about a topic that is actually, considering that Jurassic World is coming out next week, and I will be able to get the chance to see the film. It probably won't be next weekend, but even though it might actually be the time it's actually in theaters. So I'll give you my review of Jurassic World later on after I've seen the film. But this topic is actually going to be about dinosaurs in TV and film. And I know there's actually a lot of people that actually have been wondering, how does the scientific dinosaurs compare to dinosaurs that are actually on TV and film? Now, considering that I am going to be leaning towards the scientific side a little bit more, so let's actually give you a warning about that. But even though I'll give my my movie fan of myself to actually compare the films and actually see how they actually are compared to others and all that kind of stuff in terms of scientific accuracy and all that kind of stuff. Now, dinosaurs in TV and film. Basically, Hollywood usually has a way of actually like thinking like, let's actually taking prehistoric animals and actually try to make them into movie monsters, and basically that's what they usually try to do. And that's what they actually are trying to put into a film, basically. Like if they put a saber-toothed cat in a film, like say 10,000 BC, they had the saber-toothed cat be over 6 feet tall and basically probably would have weighed like over 5,000 pounds. Well, basically, the actual saber-toothed cat, which basically Smilodon, only grew to be nearly 5 feet tall and would have actually weighed over 600 pounds. And basically, that's kind of pushing it, because you see sometimes, because Hollywood usually tends to make prehistoric animals bigger than they are, because usually, but I mean, there could be bigger specimens out there that we don't know about. But even though there's a lot of things that usually go into a film, and usually kind of makes them a little bit more not really scientifically accurate, but even though kind of makes them bigger, and Hollywood usually says that's what the audience wants to see, is big things on the screen, like big dinosaurs, big prehistoric mammals on film, because that's what they want to see, but even though scientific fans like myself, in terms of the paleontology world, we usually tend to like to say, why don't you just make them a little bit more accurate? Because that way people would understand that the science has changed a little bit more. Anyway, let's actually get down to some films that I think are actually pretty good dinosaur films. Let's start off with The Ghosts of Slumber Mountain. The Ghosts of Slumber Mountain is actually a silent film back in I believe in 1915 or 1918, and basically it's a short silent film. And basically what it's about is that it's about a man telling a story to a young boy about how there's like this like little mountain or plateau where basically he's adventuring out into this wilderness, and basically all of a sudden he goes into this like plateau, and ultimately it becomes like this prehistoric world that has actually survived through time. And basically that's where you see Tyrannosaurus Rex for the first time in film, and it's the first Triceratops versus Tyrannosaurus Rex battle scene in film. And basically it's a stop motion film, because the dinosaurs are basically models. Basically it's what basically the genius of Willis O'Brien, the guy who actually created some of these stop motion dinosaur films. They're amazing, and at that time these were the most realistic dinosaurs that were on the screen. But basically the first dinosaur film was actually called Gertie the Gentle Dinosaur, and basically it's an animated film, and it's typically a cartoon. It's a very short film, and it's basically about this animated sauropod just basically eating everything in sight and all that. I mean, it's funny and all that. So I would say it's really funny, and I would actually say that that one I would actually give high praise in terms of like showing a dinosaur for the first time in film. Ghost of Slumber Mountain would actually be my take of basically one of the best and very first battle scenes of a Tyrannosaurus Rex versus Triceratops. And then when we go to the Lost World, the very first Lost World, which is basically the 1925 rendition, and it's also a silent film, and it's basically off the book of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's The Lost World. And basically that movie is considered to be one of the is considered to be the best dinosaur film of all time. But even though there have been dinosaur films that have been a little bit more advanced after that, but even though that is considered to be the best dinosaur film of all time, because how some of these stop motion dinosaurs actually moved and how they behaved and all that kind of stuff was amazing, and it's just amazing to look at, and it's and I'm glad that film was made at that time. There was other renditions of the Lost World, like the 1960 version actually has lizards instead of like they basically have iguanas basically, and they just taped or glued like plastic frills and horns on them, and I mean it just doesn't seem right. And so basically the 1960 version is not a great film. I would actually say avoid that film. I mean, it's a film to laugh at, basically, but basically it's just not a good film to watch in terms of basically off the Sir Arthur Conan Doyle book. And then basically other dinosaur films that have come in after basically have been B movies, but then the 50s have been a really bad year, have been a bad decade for dinosaurs in terms of film. It's because, well, basically, B movies were basically about giant lizards, basically, and dragons, like Godzilla. We're always the beast of 20,000 fathoms. You know, that actually is a very interesting film. But the 60s, the dinosaurs actually kind of came back, but even though they weren't really into their glory years, like in the 20s and 30s. And so pretty much, because you got films like The Valley of Gwangi. I consider that film a very good film. I'd say it's like one of the best films that basically in terms of special effects, of how they were made. You know, Ray Harryhausen, a legend in terms of special effects. I would actually say that he actually is a avid dinosaur fan himself, and basically, in the movie it says it's an Allosaurus wreaking havoc. But I'd say it looks more like a Tyrannosaurus Rex, because I'd say that because since it has the head of a Tyrannosaurus Rex, it has the body of a Tyrannosaurus Rex, but it has the arm, but it actually has the three-fingered arms like an Allosaurus. And so I would consider that to be a Tyrannosaurus Rex, not an Allosaurus. Sorry, Allosaurus fans, but even though I would say it's a great film. And also you got 1 Million BC, where you have Raquel Welch, who actually became basically one of the more beautiful women in the late 60s and early 70s. And basically that film, I would say it's okay. I mean, it's one of the more iconic prehistoric films that is out there. And one dinosaur film I do have, it's called The Last Dinosaur. It's a very funny film in terms of how the scientists actually go back in time to possibly kill a Tyrannosaurus Rex, but even though it has a good fight scene with a Triceratops, so I would say that is pretty cool. But basically the 70s, there's not a lot of dinosaur films. Basically it's because people were more interested in different kind of things in terms of science fiction, like aliens and all that kind of stuff, you know? And then that's kind of pretty interesting on that part. But the 80s is when dinosaurs... But it wasn't until the late 80s is when dinosaurs really started to come roaring back into film. And basically, like, animated films like The Land Before Time. First one is always the best. I have to say, first one is always the best. And it played a really good part in my childhood. And basically, it's a good film to watch. And then basically in the 90s is when dinosaurs really took off in film. And basically it's films, of course, like Jurassic Park. And Jurassic Park actually helped change people's minds of what dinosaurs really look like. Because back in the old days of film and TV, you saw dinosaurs standing like upright, kind of like us, and had their tails dragging. They almost look like reptiles and all that. But then when Jurassic Park came out, you actually saw that that theropod dinosaurs walk like birds and almost behaved like birds. And then basically sauropods didn't really live in swampy areas. They were living in the open plains, in all that kind of stuff, in all those kinds of places. And it's just amazing. That's a great. And you see, Jurassic Park is basically one of the best dinosaur movie in terms of CGI, and CGI changed everything of how we actually were going to view dinosaurs in film. But even though they did still use mechanical puppets for the film to make some of the dinosaurs a little bit more realistic, so in all those kinds of places. And another animated film that I kind of liked is called We're Back, a Dinosaur Story. It's a very funny film, and I would actually say that it actually did play a good part of my childhood. And of course, Rex is always my favorite. It's because of Tyrannosaurus Rex. And then you actually have other dinosaur films in the 90s, like The Lost World, Jurassic Park. Not as good as the first film, but even though it actually does bring a dark story to it, sometimes I do like a little bit of a change of a story in terms of a movie. And I would say that one is a notch below Lost World, Jurassic Park. A notch below the actual Jurassic Park. And then when you get into the 2000s, you actually have another CGI dinosaur film made by Disney called Dinosaur. I'd say it's a decent film. It's a decent Disney film. They do have an amusement ride for that kind of movie in Disney World, in Animal Kingdom, and so I haven't been to Disney World since I was 7 years old. So basically, that's a long time, and then pretty much that film kind of gave people to look at Iguanodon a little bit more, and also gave Carnotaurus a more fearsome look. And it had the Velociraptors a little bit more accurate than the Jurassic Park ones. But also in the 2000s, you actually have Jurassic Park III. That I consider is the worst of all the Jurassic Park films, because you see, I thought it was too short, and basically the story wasn't as good, and basically all of that, because you see, and I thought they shouldn't have killed the T-Rex right away in the beginning of the film. I thought basically I would have thought maybe the Spinosaurus versus T-Rex scene should have actually happened in the middle of the movie, or otherwise near the end, that kind of thing. And that basically I would have thought that T-Rex should have won the battle instead of Spinosaurus. Sorry, Spinosaurus fans. And there are some films that do have dinosaurs in them, but basically they're just only there for a short period of time. But then when you get to TV, you actually see some dinosaur types of television types of things out there. I would say because there's that comedy called Dinosaurs, where basically they look like humanoid dinosaurs in a more of a comedy kind of sitcom, and it's the show is really funny. I'll give credit for that. But even though in terms of scientific accuracy, not so much. But basically, a iconic TV series came out in the late 90s that I find the best ever is Walking with Dinosaurs. Walking with Dinosaurs basically gave people a little bit more understanding of how dinosaurs might have behaved. Now today is kind of considered a little bit dated, considering that the information back then is not really as accurate as what we have today. So pretty much, I'd like to see a little bit of a reboot of Walking with Dinosaurs. Maybe actually kind of do some of the same episodes, but with a reboot, basically kind of make it more of how the science actually has advanced a little bit more since the late 90s. And so that kind of series is actually pretty cool. I would recommend Walking with Dinosaurs always to anybody to actually watch a dinosaur TV series. And basically, I love dinosaur films. I love dinosaurs in TV. Terra Nova I consider a pretty cool TV series. It was only around for one season, but even though it was actually pretty cool with the CGI, there were some dinosaurs that were made up, basically, but you still had Carnotaurus, you still had some of the sauropods during that time, so that was pretty cool. And there's also that show that was on Sci-Fi for a little while called Primeval, and I watched a few episodes myself, and I thought it was a pretty cool show. I thought it was pretty cool. Alright, I'm going to have to cut it short for right now, so basically, next week will be a special episode. I already got a dinosaur from somebody that has actually requested for me to talk about, so basically stay tuned for that. And also, you can still send me questions at any time by email or Facebook. Basically, if you got a question about dinosaurs or any other prehistoric life, feel free to email me at dinocris71@gmail.com, or otherwise you can go on my Facebook page, Prehistoric Facts with Dino Chris. Like the page, you can actually post your questions in the comment section on any Facebook post. Remember, keep your questions short and to the point. And also, you can follow me on Twitter at CSGRALL. That's my Twitter page, and I post pretty cool stuff there. Take care of the people around you, and also for younger people out there, make sure to listen to your parents, your teachers, and your guardians. Those are the best motivation you can have for a good education. It's very important to have a good education, because with a good education, you get a good job in the future. Alright, that's it for now, and I'll see you guys next week.